You already have the name of the little girl. 6-year-old's name is Remy. Reimy. Rivera. She was 6.
Can you spell that last name?
Rivera. Rivera.
First name again was Reimy?
Reimy is how we have it.
M as in Mary?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I didn't ever see the letter. Is that what the letter said?
Yeah, I believe that's the right spelling.
Okay. All right, and that's the one we have. The suspect's name was Valentine, Valenti. Excuse me. Again, it was Valentin, Vega, Vega hyphen Soto, Soto. He was pronounced dead, a single gunshot wound to the head, self-inflicted according to the coroner's office. And Remy died of multiple gunshot wounds. I won't go into any further where those are. The 9-year-old, I will not give her name, as our policy is on juveniles, but she is still very guarded. But she is awake at times. Grandmother is doing better, and so is the mother from their wounds. They're all 3 still in the hospital.
What condition are they in?
The little girl's still in very critical, guarded condition, but her vitals are stable. Grandmother's still critical, stable, and I honestly do not know what the mother's, but they're not life-threatening. And the 2 adults.
Lieutenant, yesterday you said the 9-year-old was very serious. And I don't know if you're using the technical hierarchy they use or not, but and you said today, very critical. That would technically be worse than very serious. Did she worsen or pretty much the same?
It's still about the same.
About the same.
They are, I don't know what the hospital releases or whatever, but basically right now she has improved. She is, at a point in time, she is waking up. She's still on a ventilator. Again, she is the most critical of all the victims.
The hospital's not releasing any condition information at all.
That's fine. It's their policy. I'm not going to argue with them. But that's about where we're at. We're still trying to track down suspects' last actions, anything that might have occurred, what might have brought this on. We still do not have a motive. Again, we'll try to figure that out. We're, of course, awaiting toxicology to see if he was under the influence of anything. We do not have that information. And we probably won't have that for several weeks until those tests come back.
Did you know where he was living? Did you figure out where he was living prior to this?
As far as we could tell, he was staying in a hotel up north. He had checked in shortly after his contact with the police last night. And that's basically where we know he was last staying. We know that he was sometimes staying in the 800 block of South Richmond, but that looks like it's an abandoned house now.
You know if it was abandoned when he was staying there?
It was vacant, except for what he had.
So he was staying in a vacant house. Oh, when you say abandoned, it was
vacant. It's owned. Actually, it was owned by the mother.
By the mother. By his mother.
No.
By the
mother of the children.
Was he renting it from her, or just
again?
You
don't know that. We haven't breached that information with him. That's stuff that we don't need to know right now, in our opinion.
How do you spell Hirschman, please? Do you know? If you know, off the top of your head.
The name?
Like HIRSHCHMAN, something
Hirschman. What are you talking about?
Richmond.
Oh,
Richmond.
Richmond.
Richmond, I'm sorry.
Richmond.
832 South Richmond is the address.
You mentioned you were checking to see if he was under the influence of anything. Did you find any narcotics or other substances in his vehicle or at the hotel?
We did find narcotics. They haven't been tested yet in his vehicle. And we're going to test those.
So far, can you say what you suspect they might be, if it's marijuana or meth?
It appears to be meth.
And are mom and grandma able to talk to you and kind of give you some?
We have not been able to talk to grandmother yet. We have talked to mother. Again, it's very disjointed because she's very upset, of course, and so we have not sat down with either one of them for an in-depth interview like we need to on any investigation. But at this point in time, nothing's critical to our investigation, and that can wait until they're ready. And we're not going to press that because there's absolutely nothing that they did wrong that we can see at this point in time, and so there's nothing we should be. We will find our answers when we can find our answers to close this case out. Go ahead. Sir.
You had released yesterday that the mother was the only one who suffered one single gunshot wound,
That's
where
correct.
everyone else suffered multiple wounds. Does it appear to the investigators at this point that she was possibly intentionally left alive?
Again, that's something you can speculate all you want on. At this point in time in this investigation, I'm not going to speculate on that.
Do you know who was shot first? Like
We believe that the grandmother was shot first, then the mother, and then the two girls. That's what we believe occurred. But again, that's very preliminary.
And the uncle that was downstairs, was he? And I want to make sure I have this right. He calls the threat to the home at 11. What time does he arrive at the home? Do you know?
The suspect?
Uh-huh.
We believe he arrived right around 3:20,
Okay.
3:21,
Okay. And then
right
just-
before the call. The shooting occurred very quickly, most likely, and the call came in very quickly after that, and we responded.
And the uncle woke up because he heard the shots.
I would imagine.
Have you guys talked to him
We have
at all?
talked to him again. There's a language barrier there that we have again not sat down and had the full in-depth interview of what we need to do because at this point in time it doesn't appear critical.
And Ken, and you may not even know this yet, but he was only here a few months, and they were only dating a few months. Did she know him before he moved here?
No,
So they met here.
they met here in Wichita, yes, about a month and a half, 2 months ago.
She told me something new. You said he was only here a couple months in the U.S.
Oh, I don't know that.
Wichita. Okay.
Oh, I thought that's what you said.
No, I mean,
Oh.
we only know he's been here. We have no
relationship
record. We have
lasted.
no record of him ever entering this country right now under the name that we have.
Okay.
We are still pursuing the possibility that he might have other aliases. At this point in time, that's going to take some time, checking with immigration, we'll be checking with APHIS, we'll be doing all that, but that takes time. But right now, under his name that we have, that he had appears to be a very legal Mexican driver's license, we have no record of him at this time.
No criminal record, I think you said.
That's
yesterday,
correct.
too.
So.
No record of him legally entering the country is what you mean, right?
Well, we don't have that, and I don't know. I can't tell you what if somebody enters the country from Mexico that has proper ID. Is it documented? I honestly do not know that, but there is no illegal entry as far as I know that he's ever been caught, according to ICE. We don't know. I don't know. If he entered illegally or if he entered legally. I mean, if they drive across the border,
They don't
someone
stop.
drives across the border, does it get noted? I don't know. I honestly don't know that because I'm not involved in that. So.
Bottom line, you don't know much about him. No criminal
There's no record we have right now,
driver's
and we'll be checking with we're checking with ICE, and they're doing everything possible to assist us, and in time, hopefully, we'll find something out.
license. Do you know how long approximately he may have been living in Wichita?
As far as we know, we've got him here for the last 2 months. The only people we know that know him are these people. So I can't tell you where he was before then or anything else.
And he had been renting from her at one point, the mother of the chief.
I don't know if he was renting or if he was allowed to stay there.
Okay.
Okay?
And do you know what she did for a living?
I believe she actually worked on houses. That she would, that's what she did. She bought houses and rented them
Oh, I
and
see.
that sort of thing.
What did he do? Any idea?
I have, there's evidence of construction equipment in his car. I have no idea who he worked for, though. No paychecks, no anything like that we could find so far.
You know approximately the quantity of suspected meth in his vehicle?
I was told it was, in his vehicle was possibly about an ounce, maybe a little more. Like I said, we haven't tested that yet, so that's preliminary.
Paranoia and anger, a couple of symptoms of someone who's on meth. It's not a universal reaction, but is it possible that his behavior may have been in the midst of a meth episode, for lack of a better phrase?
Again, I'm not going to speculate. We'll wait for the drug test to see, and then we'll let the experts testify, or if they need to, on that sort of stuff. Again, we're not going to have any criminal activity on this case. We're just trying to find the answers and help the family along as much as we can. So we're going to make sure that what appears in our initial investigation is truthful, that nothing forensically doesn't match what we've found so far, and we'll close this case out. But there'll be some tests that need to be done. There's some interviews that will need to be done at some point in time, and we'll go on from there.
Do you have a better count now that the dust has settled a little bit about how many rounds he may have fired inside that house?
We believe that there was at least 9, but there might have been more. We don't know. Again,
At
it's
least
very
9 rounds.
difficult to determine on subjects that are alive of the trajectory of wounds of what is entrance, exit, because one bullet can enter a body 2 or 3 times. It depends on the position. That's very difficult to determine on live individuals because they're being treated medically. And to be honest, right now, that's not critical to us because we don't need to prove anything in court. So
Just to be
we're not
clear,
worried
you're
about that.
saying that injuries to the mother and the grandmother are not considered life-threatening at this point?
That's what the hospital tells us at this point in time. That those two, the mother is not life-threatening, and the grandmother is being more responsive, and she's actually, at this point in time, we'll probably be talking to her a little bit today, because we'll be able to talk to her for the first time.
Did you guys release where the mother was struck by a single shot?
In her leg.
It was in her leg.
It looks like from the police report the grandmother was struck in the chest.
She was struck several times.
Okay.
Did the mother witness the shootings of her children?
I'm not going to go into that.
And Ken, like you mentioned, I mean, this isn't an investigation where you have to prove anything, but why is it so important to have the answers?
Well, whenever you conduct any death investigation, we need to make sure that what we find initially is truthful, and we don't want later on someone to accuse something else of happening in that house that we can prove forensically. So basically, what we'll do is we work, as in any suicide, we work that suicide case out to show that it's a self-inflicted wound, that no one else came in there and shot these individuals and then shot him. So we're investigating the death case. Even though we believe that it's not going to go to trial, we'll still do the tests that we need to do, and we'll look at, try to track where the firearm came from. All these things will take time and stuff like that.
And where was his body found?
It was in the hallway, right in the doorway of the girl's bedroom.
And the grandmother and mother were in the front room.
Grandmother was in a back bedroom, and the mother was in the front room when officers arrived. Now, she was mobile.
I was going to say, was she mobile?
She was mobile, so I can't tell you where the actual shooting occurred until we get the investigation of where everybody was sitting and talking to them. We won't really know where they actually were.
How many bedrooms are in that house?
2 on the upper level.
And so was Grandma in one of the rooms where one of the girls was?
No, the girls were in the same room.
Oh, they're in the same room, okay. And does Grandma and the uncle live there with her?
Grandmother does, but I
Uncle
believe that
wasn't?
Uncle had just moved in briefly and had just been there for a few days, from my understanding, from the initial interview with him, that he had just moved in there and was staying in the basement for just a few days.
Oh, okay.
when this occurred.
Considering the hour of 3:20 a.m., was everybody awake at least to the point where he starts kicking the door?
I don't believe so. I believe that possibly the mother might have been awake. Again, we haven't had that chance. The girls most likely were not. It appears that they were both asleep at the time that the attack started. And most likely the uncle was asleep downstairs. Do not know about, like I said, we haven't interviewed the grandmother, so I can't tell you if she was asleep at the time when this all occurred and she was woke up, but possibly the mother was awake. Again, I don't know.
I guess there's no way of knowing if the girls were actually asleep at the point that they were shot. We know they were in bed, right? But we don't know if they were actually
I know,
awake.
but we don't need to discuss that. I think the 9-year-old's going to have a tough enough time without having this all dug out, as it is.
And
So-
when the guy called, when the suspect called 911 that night, did the officers think he
The
was
officers,
acting weird?
no, the officers appeared that, from the officers' reports that were made that night, it did not appear to them that he was impaired at 10:30, or I think it was, actually, I believe it, by looking at the call now, I think it was just slightly before 10 o'clock is when we got called.
And he called from the hospital?
He was in the parking lot right there at St. Francis.
Oh, okay. And
We
he-
know why he was there.
I think he pulled up in the car, and he was waiting in the car when the officer showed up. So I don't know whether he picked it because it's a public place or whatever. But he pulled right into that ER parking lot, and that's where the officers contacted him.
And then he calls the house and threatens them, but mom doesn't think, well, I better call the police.
I can't, again, I'm not going to speculate on what mom thought or whatever. It's not necessary.